Hey everyone, I wanted to go over some new and exciting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch, and at the same time have an open discussion regarding the difficulty of this game and how the narrative that this game was just easy and for babies and the easiest Monster Hunter ever made, how that narrative has been basically put to death within the past few months as Capcom keeps providing us with ever more difficult event quests that are being dropped into the game. So first and foremost, yesterday we got the Blazing Soul of a Warrior event quest where you're going to be hunting a Magnum Mallow and the Lava Caverns. As I tell you guys, each and every single week, make your way down to the Steelworks, speak to the Courier Cat, go all the way down to the add-ons option and claim any DLC that's labeled in white. Essentially, once you do, it'll turn gray, and that means you have downloadable content, free event quests, free item packs, anything that you haven't necessarily claimed. You should definitely be able to do just that. This event quest, Blazing Soul of a Warrior, where you're going to be hunting a Magnum Mallow, is none other than pretty much a glorified Magnum Mallow emergency event quest. The emergency event quests that have been added in are pretty much for Apexes only so far, up until this point. We do have the boosted Ibushi and Narwa event quests, but those are like endgame monsters, so eventually we presumed we would be able to get those. But everything else so far up until this point had been Apexes. Apex Arceros, Apex Rathian, Apex Mitsuzune. We know that next week we're going to be able to get Emergency Apex Rathian, or Rathalos as well, I should say. And that's also going to be another pain in the butt. But so far, for typical monsters that aren't Apexes, we haven't gotten any sort of emergency event quest up until now, where it's not necessarily called an emergency event quest, but that's exactly what it is. In fact, I've seen some people in social media reference it as pretty much the demo Magnum Mallow making a comeback. Because remember, the demo Magnum Mallow was a hell of a challenge. But remember that the armor sets you were playing with were not necessarily optimized to the best of your abilities. They were pretty much pre-made and they were not necessarily all that great. They also did not have maxed out defense. By this point in time, HR8, you should have maxed out defense. You should have pretty much optimized armor sets mix match to, anything that you would typically desire. So your armor set should be pretty much ready to go. And that difficulty spike from fighting a typical normal Magnum Mallow to fighting one of these like boosted Apex emergency, monsters is a pretty big gap. That challenge gap has basically been raised. The Apex Arceros was pretty much a decent challenge. I've talked about the Apex Rathian multiple times now, and just last week or the week before when we got the Apex Mitsuzune event quest, that one was a pain in the butt. And realistically speaking, I don't think the monsters are not necessarily that much of a problem if you actually can understand and telegraph their attacks, because they most definitely do. We can certainly go over how Magnum Mallow's, all of its attacks are just pretty much telegraphed a mile away. The problem is that people are not necessarily reading those telegraphs. They're not necessarily picking up on those cues. And because they are so greedy and they're so used to just trying to get out more damage and more hits, to see those damage, the orange go up and see those crits, that they just lose the concept of like, this thing is going to hit me, is going to wallop me, and it's going to take 90 to 100% of my health in one hit. And that's what this Magnum Mallow does. Even his like powdery purple dust will hit you for about 90% of your health, even with maxed out defense. Like, this thing is not playing around. On top of that, we know that Magnum Mallow loves to combo people. He will flip you into the air and then just power bomb you or dive into you or like pounce attack and body tackle. He has many different moves on top of his tail spike, which is another one of those moves that he does. So like, he'll do a variety of moves that he's going to try to combo into you, that if you're not ready to just dodge the first one or preemptively know to get the hell out of the way, you're just going to eat that damage. And guess what? You're going to cart. And if you're playing with rando people online, you're just frustrating the hell out of everyone around you, because you could have easily avoided that and you didn't. Now, this isn't like a melee weapon to a ranged weapon user type of thing. This is just people need to just get prepared. I've been talking about recently how people just need to start doing spirit bird collections. They need to pretty much learn the most optimized path in each one of the maps to be able to pick up at the very least a couple. Not maxed out your stats or anything like that, but at the very least, pick up a couple. Make sure you have the proper armor, you have the proper defenses. you drink a mega demon drug, or maybe a mega armor, you know, maybe some powder, anything that could help keep your ass alive, because ultimately these fights are just getting tougher and tougher. And I think what frustrated me the most about this fight, and the reason why you're probably seeing my gameplay, that I'm fighting this thing by myself, is because I fought this thing 10 different times with random pugs, and every single time they just wiped. Someone would die before I even got there the first time. Now, I was picking up spirit birds as I joined. I make sure that I grab a couple at the very least. And by the time that I got to him, there was already someone dead. So, like, obviously, they just were not prepared. They did not know what the hell they were doing. And the one fight that I saw, I literally saw 3 people cart back to back from, like, 2 attacks back to back from him. So 3 people died in 2 of his attacks because they just simply just were not prepared for the fight at all. They just, you know, they teleport to the closest area, and then they just go fight him, and they die instantly. And it's like, you're just hurting everyone around you. So what I basically decided is, like, I could keep banging my head against the wall with randos online, which is just not optimal to do. I got better things to do with my time. Or I could just go solo him instead. Spend 5 minutes picking up spirit birds, almost max out all my stats, and then just fight him on in the easiest setting. I think solo is super easy in this game. When people complain about difficulty, they're not talking about solo. They're talking about online for the most part. And trying to fight things solo by yourself is probably one of the better experiences, only because you're not worried about random people just randomly dying to the most telegraphed obvious attack. This might be something that a lot of people already do. Me, as someone who likes to play with people online, I don't necessarily like to do solo. But I felt like this specific quest, I just like, I might as well just do it by myself. And I did it the first time around. I think the timer was 18 minutes, so reduced to 5 minutes from me picking up birds, and the other couple of minutes of just me trying to fight him and trying to be very careful not to get hit. And even that, I got hit 2 times, and I believe the Valstrax, I just kind of came around and, you know, wiped the floor with him and me at the same time, which was really funny. So at the end of the day, it was just a better fight to fight solo than ultimately having to bang your head against the wall with fighting people online. And I think that's the takeaway here, that, like, if you're not having a good time playing with people online, because again, randos are just that, you just never know what you're gonna get, you just might as well go try to take it on solo, and you're probably gonna have a better time, because you can dictate the parameters of the fight better than if you're having to deal with just randos who are not prepared. And sadly, that's kind of like the thing. I don't think the argument can continue to hold up when people are saying that this game is the easiest Monster Hunter ever, or one of the easiest ones. I don't think it holds up any longer, because people are just carding nonstop to, like, all these emergency event quests. I've talked about this every single time there's a brand new event quest in this layer of difficulty. Even the Narwa one, like, Narwa is the most easiest fight in the game, I think, for an end game monster. And even then, when we're doing the parameters boosted one, people were still dying to that thing. So, you know, I think people have just kind of been grown accustomed to fighting easy monsters, easy fights. They don't hit you all that hard. And when you come up against a monster that's going to hit you 90% of your health in one hit, and it takes you 2 mega potions to get back to full health, unless someone else drinks another potion with you, you know, you're just not going to have a great time. And, you know, you're just going to keep carding, and everyone else around you is going to be frustrated. And I don't think that's what we all want to do. Ultimately, we want to help instead of hinder the team, and provide a good experience as a teammate instead of a bad one, you know. So something to keep in mind. But if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.